And it is a bit of a big topic because it's Nintendo Management Briefing Session, which happened 3 days. There was September the 16th, 3 days after Mario's 35th anniversary. And I'm not going to go through all of this. I've got a massive list here of what Shuntaro Furukawa has gone through. But we're going to pick up certain things that he did say, and we're going to give our thoughts about it. What are Nintendo up to? So we're going to start with, they mentioned first of all Nintendo's 35th anniversary and is basically selling everything. And yay, we played Mario for 35 years and now our grandchildren are. So we'll move on to Nintendo's philosophy. This is the second part. And these are Shuntaro Furukawa's words. He said, "We strive to make consumers of all ages smile through unique forms of play that anyone can intuitively enjoy. Our global teams are dedicated to this mission, and it is as much a part of Nintendo's DNA today as it is in the past. We will pursue integrated hardware-software entertainment where the touch and feel of a product should be fun, and this symbiotic relationship between hardware and software really creates strong connections between Nintendo and our consumers." You agree with that, Greg?
Yeah, that is Nintendo all over. Right. And I kind of, I'm glad to hear them sort of, talking in that sort of way, because we sort of, we need Nintendo, giving us surprises, every time. If you look at, the controllers and stuff throughout the years, it's always different. They always do something new, and as much as it would be, in a way, nice to take the Switch formula forward, part of me is I hope they do just something radically different again.
It's the little things that make me smile. That the Mario Kart Live home circuit. It's integrating real toys and software and hardware all in one package, and it's nobody else is going to be doing that, Sam.
No, I mean, speaking about that, the Mario Kart toys, it almost feels like they come full circle a bit. Because Nintendo, originally, of course, 1886, I believe, around about that time. That's when they started out playing cards. 1889, that's it. They started out with cards, and then they branched out into lots of interesting gadgets and toys and whatnot. So this is feels like it's coming full circle. You've got the game element, and you've also got something that's a bit more experimental, but leveraging the technology. And I can see it doing well. It's a bit niche, perhaps.
Yeah.
Because obviously you need quite some floor space for that, I would imagine. I think maybe if anyone buys that, if they've got the room for it, they maybe get some use out of it. But I don't know. But as a concept, yeah, it's definitely an interesting concept. We'll probably see more things like this in the future. I think they'll probably be spread out throughout the year, though. I don't think there'll probably be more than 2 or 3 things like this per year. So you've had some progress being made with the Lego recently. You've had the Lego Nintendo Entertainment System, and all the Super Mario Lego as well. I don't know, it's for what it can do, it's interesting, and obviously it's collectible, and it seems to go back to reinforcing that ethos that they mentioned there. So yeah, it's good to see them branching out a bit more, and maybe using some of their past experiences along with more recent experiences to bring something new to the table.
It was their past experiences that they talked about next, and expanding the audience. They went back to the Wii and the DS, and he talked about us opening up and broadening horizons. But then he went on to IP expansion, and basically coming in 2020 is the Super Nintendo World. But he also talked about opening Nintendo Tokyo in 2019. Universal Studios came around from ideas in 2016. And there's a new Super Mario CG animated movie coming out in 2022. But then he added this at the end, saying, "The goal of our initiatives to drive awareness through IP expansion is to build interest in the games that feature our rich cast of characters. In other words, its purpose is to contribute to our dedicated video game platform business. Accordingly, we are vigilant about making IP expansion doesn't unintendedly introduce new attributes or personality traits for characters that might limit future game development." So my idea of "excuse me, princess" is out the window, Greg.
It sounds like it. To be honest, it's sort of doubling down on my frustrations with the company a wee bit, because like I feel like obviously they've got their franchises that are gonna do well for Mario's. Just, everybody knows Mario, and you can put him in all sorts of things. Obviously, they've got Lego and whatever else. The theme park, and then you've got Zelda, which has sort of become bigger for them now. And then obviously Splatoon's like a big hit, particularly in Japan. Fire Emblem, Kirby always seems to do pretty well for them too. So they've got the sort of base of franchises that do really well for them, and I feel like they kind of just keep milking those now in all the different sort of forms. And like the franchises that obviously didn't do so well for them, like because they didn't do so well, like you understand, like, well, if this isn't really making us as much money as this sort of thing, like why would we concentrate on that? But it's those other franchises that I really like adored, like growing up with Nintendo, and I miss those. And like I just feel like we're gonna keep getting like more Mario shoved into our faces and like Kirby and stuff, and it's like they do different things now and again. Obviously, like Ring Fit's a good example of them, like experimenting with something different. And Labo, I don't know if anybody's expecting another Labo set to appear. I don't know, but yeah, I do kind of miss like all our franchises. Yeah, that is what it is.
How about you, Sam?
Yeah, I think I'd echo Greg's sentiments there. There are a few, much beloved franchises which sadly seem to have fallen by the wayside. I can see it from a business perspective, but what I give for a new F-Zero.
Yeah.
It's that kind of feeling, really, because you've got the Switch now. It would seem like the perfect time, even if it's just a remaster at this point. I think that's the frustrating thing. And then Nintendo can go so long with these franchises, and then they don't necessarily try anything with them. And then it gets to the point where people just say, just give us a remaster of the last best game, and add some online features. That'd be enough. But which maybe isn't necessarily the way to go about it. But right now, I'd probably enjoy that more than an original IP.
Yeah.
But it would depend on what that original IP is. So something like Splatoon, I can see it's very popular, but if it was a choice between Splatoon and F-Zero, it's no-brainer. Just give me F-Zero GX with online. Yeah, it would do well enough with the right push. Maybe highlight previous F-Zero games. I think we've got F-Zero on the SNES. Yeah, on the SNES app. Maybe re-release F-Zero, on the N64 in some form or another. Even if you don't go full physical.
We need F-Zero's anniversary. We need to know the dates. Yeah, when's that 25th anniversary or whatever one's coming.
But there would be enough games to warrant a collection if you add in the GBA games as well.
Yeah, the GBA games. There was a course creator in one of those as well, wasn't there?
Yeah. So you could add that, and you could really make a good go of it. And then once you've done that, you could then maybe think about bringing a new F-Zero game if you've got all the games on there to date. Or they could just put the collection out and call it a day.
Well, the thing is, Sam, like you say, like the Switch is almost like the perfect opportunity, because like all the franchises seem to be like selling really well. And like, yes, because Mario's selling really well, we can make another Mario game, we'll sell millions of those. But the Switch is like an opportunity for them to go like, right, here's some of our other franchises. Here is F-Zero, for example, and you maybe will get like a few million, so it's maybe not massive, but you're giving yourself that opportunity because the Switch sells so many. It's like you might gain more fans for this franchise, which will make it become a big franchise like those other ones.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
So they moved on to Nintendo accounts. Over 200 million Nintendo accounts worldwide, and there's this massive peak in Nintendo accounts when Mario Kart Tour mobile application dropped. Then they carried on with Nintendo Switch Online memberships. Basically, there are 26 million paid members now, and I will quick back of the box calculation, and it's like about £400 million they've got out of that. And he said, we will continue releasing titles that appeal to online play and introduce special offers for members like Tetris 99, Super Mario Bros. 35, which is coming on 1st of October, and bring more features and fun to Nintendo Switch. He's going through that, still trying to sell the idea of the Nintendo Switch online subscription. Do you have anything to say about that, Greg?
Yes, a few other different types of games would be cool. Like, I mentioned it on Discord last night. It's not the sort of thing we would get. Like, there would be no reason for it. But like, Fall Guys, which made such like a big splash on like PS4 and PC recently. Like, personally, I don't think it's a very good game, but it would be the perfect sort of like game for the Switch online service, I think. But yeah, like, there'd be no reason for that. Like, I wouldn't make the developers really any money or anything, I don't think. But I like some sort of different things. Like, I'd like to see Nintendo experiment with a few other things from their like well of franchises. Like, Battle Royale. It doesn't have to be like a Battle Royale thing like Tetris 99 or Super Mario 35. You could definitely do something different.
Was it you that mentioned something to do with Nintendo Land?
That was actually Mark Durus. He
okay.
We were sort of joking around with a few things, like he sort of mentioned like a Donkey Kong Crash Course Battle Royale type thing, which I actually thought was a great idea because I loved that game in Nintendo Land. And like, you sort of think, well, they could sort of turn Nintendo Land into like an online like thing for everybody to enjoy, like, and they could obviously like add different like attractions to it over the course of like the next few years. Like, I kind of love the idea, if anything.
Yeah. Sam, any thoughts on their online service?
Yeah, just after what you just said there about Tetris 99 and Super Mario Bros. 35, and going back to FZero, why not have FZero 30? Because I seem to recall in some of the FZero games you could have, was it up to 30 races?
Yes, yeah.
So have that, implement it, maybe an older style, like a SNES style, or you could have a variety of styles, you have somewhere in between, but have up to 30 players on the track online. It'd be more of a straight F-Zero race, but if they could get it working, that could work quite well as an experiment.
You could have like elimination as well, eliminate the slowest player every 20 seconds or something,
Yeah, that would work. And you could go with the conventional, was it either 3 or 5 laps, or you could extend it to lots of laps. You could have a variety of game modes and whatnot. They probably wouldn't, but
no.
You never know. Just putting the idea out there into the ether.
Yeah, lovely. Then they went on to some research and development, allocating resources, basically. He said the people who make Nintendo products understand and embody the Nintendo brand, craft everything with care, and deliver each product responsibly. It looks like he's trying to mitigate potential lawsuits for further JoyCon drift there, Greg.
Rightly so, I guess.
Sam, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I definitely share those sentiments. Personally, I've not had any JoyCons go adrift yet, but I'm just I look at them thinking, well, when are they just gonna go wrong? I wouldn't say I use them probably that much in comparison to the Pro Controller, so maybe that's it. But even so, it's Nintendo. They built up a reputation, in years prior for really good quality controllers. I mean, I got the SNES controller here for the Switch. Look at that, and that is still a quality controller. But the Joy-Cons, it seems something definitely went amiss there somewhere for such a high percentage of them to be faulty. I mean, I know you can, ways you can fix them with the compressed air and whatnot, and you put in certain brushes underneath the stick, but it's something you really shouldn't have to do, really, I think, with a controller.
Waiting
but
for
obviously
Lee's shameless plug of his video.
Nintendo gamers.
I'd say it's well worth checking out if you've got any Joy-Con drift issues, because who's going to want to buy another set of controllers for £60 unless you have to. You want to keep these controllers going for as long as you can, but I think that there could definitely be a Joy-Con redesign in the future.
Yeah, I can see that definitely happening.
Probably sooner rather than later, I would have thought, because that's kind of letting them down at the minute. It really is.
Yeah, I've had no problems with the Pro Controller. That's been a sturdy, solid piece of... I like that controller a lot.
Pro Controller's great.
Yeah.
And the SNES controller that you can use with the online, they're really good. I know they're limited and whatnot. They just restocked them, I heard recently though, so they could do with putting more of those out probably.
I have an 8-bit though Super Nintendo Famicom 30.
So the SN30.
The SN30, I believe it is. Yeah, it's got
Yeah.
the dual sticks on as well. I'm not a fan of where the sticks are, but what a solid controller. It's the shape as
I've heard
well,
good-
isn't it? It's that nostalgic
Good
shape.
things about that.
Yeah, very good controller. Sometimes has a little bit of an issue connecting to the Switch, but once it's connected, really solid controller. The D-pad on it's fantastic. On to some digital sales trends, and he said that digital sales trends, he's looking at things since the COVID-19 situation as well. He's basically saying both the number and ratio of downloadable version software sales are trending upwards due to this, but approximately titles sold by digital approximately rose by 50% by the end of June. On the other hand, percentage of digital sales have stabilised now after that June boost because of COVID to pre-pandemic levels, and they do not expect the increased digital sales seen in the first quarter of the fiscal year to continue. But if you look over the last 3 or 5 years, it is trending upwards.
Yeah, well, that is basically just the way it's going. Like,
Yeah.
myself personally, like, I got Resident Evil 2 for the PS4 recently there because it was on sale for like £8 on Amazon. So I think that's actually the first physical game I bought this year, and we're in September. Like, everything else has been digital.
I think how many games I have on the Switch, and then the percentage of what's physical, what's digital. It's crazy. Sam, how about you?
Well, with physical to digital ratio, I'd say I've probably still got more physical than digital. I know it seems unlikely, but I've just been looking at each game as it comes out and thinking, now is it really worth me buying physical? Because I've got quite a few. I can see for convenience with digital, I can definitely see the positive aspects of that. But it's when the price difference comes into it.
Yeah.
So if you got something digital and it's £15 or less, and then the physical's £30, and it's kind of a no-brainer. Digital's probably better in that instance. But I think it's still worth picking up physical games, as and where you can. I'd say especially with things like that Super Mario 3D All-Stars collection. I'd say if you're going to pick it up, if there isn't much price difference, and there really doesn't seem to be, don't really see what you're losing by picking up physical, apart from the convenience of having it on the console. But Mario, 3D Mario games, even those, I'd imagine they're a few gigs. So yeah, I still think there's a benefit to physical games.
As a physical buyer as well, you'll be happy to know that Nintendo then, Shintaro Furukawa, said that yes, we sell a lot of games digitally, but this is only due to our aim is to maximize the total number of units sold. So obviously we can sell it digitally and physically. So we will continue to offer our entertainment experiences both digitally and physically in a way that naturally aligns with consumer preferences. So you physical purchasers won't be left behind.
No, that's good.
It's good news, yeah. Future outlook. This is the last topic he talked about, and it's where do Nintendo go? Especially, there's a little graphic here where they've got the DS and Wii, and then there's a circle around, and so those are not included in the circle. Then you've got Nintendo Switch hardware from 2017 going through to 20XX, and its integrated hardware-software next gaming system. And its value-added services, and this line is projected to be growing. So what this image is telling me is that all these kind of Nintendo Switch online services, they are going to be continuing and growing and added, even if it goes onto a future console. This system that Nintendo have created now, its ecosystem and its online system, it'll just continue onwards, and you will lose nothing by the looks of it, Greg.
Losing nothing is good. I do expect the price of it to increase at some point because there's only so much they can do at that sort of price point. I know like Microsoft are doing like some amazing things with Game Pass, like the value proposition for that, for example. Nintendo wouldn't be so reckless, I don't think. So I think if they do start adding more stuff to their like services and stuff, then inevitably there is going to be like a price increase. And like I'd be happy enough to go with the price increase if it meant we got like extra stuff, like as we sort of mentioned earlier, if we started getting like we were able to get like N64 online service, GameCube, Wii, that would be like amazing. I'd happily pay much more for the online services. Yeah, it's the next gaming system that interests me. Like,
Yeah.
I do wonder what they're gonna do with it.
They've got that graphic, and it's got the Switch, and under the Switch is integrated hardware software, and then the next gaming system, integrated hardware software, and it's just basically telling you what Nintendo do anyway, Sam. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because you look at the Switch, you look at how successful it is, bar a few issues with the JoyCons, it's a great system. So you kind of think, well, why wouldn't they just carry on with that and kind of iterate on it? So I think whatever they bring out next, it will have to have some form of backwards compatibility. And if you've got the entire Switch library that you can play on it, then, because I couldn't think that they're going to now bring out something that would then basically mean that anyone that's got a Switch then can't play all those games and any future games. I think they'll just carry on iterating on it, maybe improving on it. But if they had just say a mostly home console version of a Switch, whatever they call that, with more robust controls and whatnot, and you still had the option to keep your Nintendo account and somehow seamlessly keep these two devices on there, then that would be good. So then you've got an option to switch between those two consoles, whatever the future one might be. It's hard to say without knowing, but it's good that they're outlining this. I mean, it is always possible that Nintendo don't know themselves. Obviously, they research and development, they're going to have some idea. They probably already have some new version of the Switch planned out, I would have said, but it's hard to say. I mean, you just look at the competition. It's like this year, of course, we've just had news of other consoles coming out. So I mean, who knows really? But they're quite expensive. If you were thinking of buying, I'd say you're having all consoles. That's another £450 per console. But then for what's actually in the consoles, it does seem good value. So it's expensive on one hand, but then if you were to compare it to building a PC, maybe there's benefit there. But from Nintendo's perspective, I think they're probably going to continue to iterate on what they have. And with the Switch is still selling at the minute, I don't think we're going to see that anytime soon. But it's good to see that they've outlined it. But I think keeping that online ecosystem and whatnot with the subscription, maybe having to increase the price slightly, that's probably the best course of action, I would have said.
Yeah, if they make it, they add in N64, for example, GameCube games, whatever, to the service. Yes.
God, imagine that.
Yeah.
That would be
wonderful. And what Shintaro Furukawa also said is that we are, like you said, Sam, we don't expect to see the next console anytime soon, because we're right in the middle of the Switch's life cycle, he said, and that we have many games for Switch in 2021 and beyond.
It's good.
Greg.
I hope so.
That's what you want to hear.
Yeah. I'm sure there is, and yes, you got many games beyond, but how many have you got for 2021, Nintendo? Let us know as soon as possible. Anything to add to any of that, boys?
No, I think we just basically want to see what those games are. I think like every Nintendo fan who's invested in a Switch right now. Of course, you just had a Direct, so we know there's new Monster Hunter games coming, and that's great. That is really great. I don't want to undersell what they've already done, but there's surely got to be more for 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think next year is going to be a much better year than the last 2 or 3. I think it's going to be a good year.
Yeah.
Positive news. Good. We'll end there, boys. That's all we have time for this week. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give us a like if you've enjoyed our content. You can also check out our other great content on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and the N-E Café podcast from all good podcast providers. Just follow the links in the description below.